Hi everybody, it's Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and today we're going to talk about tensions. Is the tensions on your machine giving you tension? Well, we're going to figure it out. So let's quickly talk about what it means when we talk about tension. Tension is how the machine is holding on to the thread as it goes through the machine, which gives you a nice smooth sewing experience. Okay, so you have a needle thread and you have a bobbin thread, and a lot of things can go into giving a little dismay to the tension on your machine. So the whole goal of your tension on a basic straight stitch is that the needle and the bobbin thread will intertwine basically in the middle of your fabric sandwich. And so you have a stitch on the back and you have a stitch on the front, and they both look like they're stitches being formed. There's no straight lines, that sort of thing. So the first thing I want to just kind of approach is your bobbin. So a bobbin, we want to make sure that it is wound correctly, and we're going to do that today. But I have a couple of bobbins here that I want to show you. So we're going to go to our overhead and take a look at these two bobbins. Now, this blue bobbin, if you notice, it's very symmetrical and it's smoothly wound. There's no loops coming out of it. There's no weird things. So that's good. This one, the orange one, if you can see it's not even wound straight. It's really lopsided, and if you push it, look at how, watch that, look at how spongy that thread is. It is so loose, and for one thing, you're not going to get much sewing done with a bobbin that is really spongy like this, because it just doesn't have much thread on it. This one is still soft to the touch, but look, I can't malform that. The thread is set where it is. So this one is really icky. Now, I purposely did wind an icky bobbin so you could see what it looks like. And to get a bobbin that is wound like this means that it wasn't put through the bobbin winding tensions properly. Another thing that you may or may not know is that you want to have one thread on your bobbin. If you are using your orange and you're almost done with the orange, but you don't need orange anymore, you don't put blue on top of it. If you put thread on thread, you're only asking for crabbiness in your machine. So one thread, one bobbin, okay? All right, so let's go over and we're going to take a look at winding the bobbin on this machine right here. Now, this is a very common style machine. It has a drop-in bobbin. And then it has a bobbin winder up on top. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my purple thread and put it on my bobbin winding spindle. Now, this machine is really kind of neat because it has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the pathing that I need to do right on the machine. So this is really nice because I can't forget as easily because it's written right on the machine. So I'm going to take my thread and hold it like dental floss, and I'm going to go down the one. And if you look on your machine, if you have lines on your machine, the solid lines are probably for your sewing thread like this one is, and the dotted lines are for bobbin winding. So then I'm going to come up the other side and come around this back piece, this little silver piece right here, and then under this button. There's a little button right here, and you want to make sure your thread is under that. Now, as far as the bobbin spindle, we're going to set that bobbin on there and just wrap it around, and there's a picture right on the front of the machine that shows which direction to wind that. So I'm going to get that on there on the bobbin a few times, and then this one is really neat because there's a little thread cutter, and let me get under it and then I'll show it to you. There's a thread cutter right in the base of that bobbin winder, and you can pull it, and then the bobbin, the thread comes off and it's ready to go. And now I'm going to slide this over. Now it's in the bobbin winding position, and I can start the machine, and it's going to wind the bobbin for us. Now, if you've gone under the button here and gone around the pieces as it suggests, then you're going to get a nicely wound bobbin. If you have an older machine where the button is kind of loose, you can actually go around it twice. So in this one, we came down in front of it, under the button, and over here. So if it's an older machine with a loose button, you can come down around it and then back over. I'm going to go ahead and stop my bobbin because that's enough thread on there for our purposes. And then I'm going to use that nice little thread cutter on the machine. And I've got a great little bobbin wound here. And I'm going to take the thread off. Okay, so now with drop-in bobbins, most machines, a drop-in bobbin, the tail will be on the left, and when you pull the thread, it will spin counterclockwise. Or when you hold the tail down, it may look like a P. And that just drops right in. And then you want to make sure you follow the instructions on your machine because you want to make sure that the thread gets put into the bobbin case correctly. So I've popped it in, but that's not the only thing we do. We want to follow the arrows and slide across, and I just felt it click into the tension in the bobbin case, up and around, and there's a thread cutter, and we'll put the bobbin cover on the machine. Okay, so now I want to show you what the bobbin case looks like that we're working with here. So this is the bobbin case that's down in the machine. And let's go to the overhead real quick so you can see this pretty tight. If you notice, here's the bobbin case itself, but right here you have, can you see that? There's a little slit right there. That's where the thread's going to go and get clipped into the tension. And the tension on this is a little, you can kind of see it right there's a shadow. There's a really thin little piece of metal right there that is the little spring that holds that thread in and puts the actual tension on the thread. Okay, now this is a drop-in style bobbin, and most machines will come with a sewing style bobbin case. And if it's an embroidery machine as well, a lot of times it will come with a secondary case that is good for embroidery because you want your thread to be held differently with an embroidery thread. If you use a lot of different weights of threads, you might consider getting a spare one of these because using this little screw right here, you can tighten it or loosen it ever so slightly to give it a different amount of tension or how hard the bobbin case is holding onto the thread. And when you change a screw on a bobbin case, look at it kind of like a clock. I've got him straight up and down right now, so if I'm going to tighten him, I'm going to go clockwise. I only want to turn the screw by a minute or 2 minutes, not any more than that. Then test it and then adjust. You don't want to do a whole 15, 30, or 30 minutes because that's too much of a turn at one time for a bobbin case. Okay, so now that I have that bobbin in there, let's go ahead and thread the machine, and we're going to talk about threading the machine. So I'm going to put my spool on here, and I do have a cap. Let's talk about caps for a minute. When you have a spool of thread and you want to use your spool cap, which holds the spool on the machine, make sure that you're using a cap that is the similar size of your actual spool. So don't have butterfingers and drop it all the time. So this one fits really nice. You can see it's about the same size. If I had a spool that had a skinny top to it, this would be too big and the thread would just get caught in between the spool and the spool cap and cause the thread to break, or most likely your needle to break. Okay, so when you thread your machine, first thing you want to do is make sure that your foot is up because that opens up the tension discs inside the machine, allowing you to thread the machine and get the thread down in the tension discs. So what are tension discs? In here you have, it's a set of just little discs that, they almost look like cymbals. So like from a band, you know, like that. So anyway, when the foot's open, they're open, or foot's up, they're open, allowing the thread to go inside. When you close the, put your foot down, they tighten around the thread, helping the thread to be metered correctly through the machine and into your fabric. Because the last thing you want to do is have no tension on your thread and have a bunch of thread going down into the machine when it doesn't need to, and we'll look at that too. Okay, so when you're threading, have your foot up so your tensions are open and the thread can go into them. And I'm going to hold my thread like dental floss and follow the thread path that's listed on the machine. And if yours doesn't have it on the machine, your book will tell you. And then we're going to come down. Once you're down to the thread clip, if you prefer, you can now put your foot down at this point because you're through the threading up at the top. And then we can go into our needle threader and simply push the button and we've got it threaded. Now, you can't see from there, or maybe you can see a little bit of that white right there. Take a look at that. My foot is down and it has a little cover over it. It's covering the threading assembly down in there, so you can't accidentally thread it with the foot down. However, that doesn't keep us from doing it. But watch what happens when I raise the foot. Watch it. See how the door opened? See, closed, open. So you want to make sure that you have an open path to your threading. Okay, so now that we have our thread in the top and we know it's threaded correctly, or we hope it's threaded correctly, and we have our thread in the bottom, which we again are confident that it's threaded correctly, we're going to go ahead and give it a little stitch, and then we'll take a look at how it formed a stitch. One way you can tell if the thread is threaded correctly is by how the machine sounds. If the machine sounds nice and smooth like this machine does, this is the Brother PS700 and it sounds absolutely beautiful. Let's take a look at that stitch. It looks really great too. See, look, it has nice stitch formation on the top and it has nice stitch formation on the bottom. And on the back side I have purple bobbin, but I'm not seeing any orange through the stitches. And on the front side where I have orange thread, I'm not seeing the purple through it. Now, I think on camera you can see a little bit of shadowing where the thread is going down, but that's where the hole is. It's not the purple popping up. Okay, so that works really well. Now, let's take a look really quick at this machine right here. This is the Juki QVP, really popular machine. It is a really strong heavy-duty machine. It has bag makers love it, power sewers love it. It's really great, but it has an insert style bobbin versus a drop-in bobbin. Okay, so now we'll take a closer look at this machine. So this machine, this is what the bobbin case looks like. And it comes out when you want to put a new bobbin in, as opposed to the Brother, where this bobbin case is in the machine. You can take it out for cleaning, which you do need to do, but it is a totally different style of bobbin case. Does the same type of job. So on this bobbin case, you can see a little bit better. Let me get it so it's facing you. There we go. This right here is that spring that I mentioned on this bobbin case. It has it too. The thread's going to come in the slit and come out. Now, when you're working with an insert style bobbin, if you have an older machine, the way you insert your bobbin is usually in the front. This is more of an industrial machine, so we have the insert on the side, but the fact still remains that typically, when you are inserting the bobbin, when you pull the bobbin, it's going to turn clockwise, okay? And it looks like I don't even know what letter that is. Q. It looks like a Q. There we go. Oh, I got to rotate it so you can see. See the tails on the right-hand side? So I'm going to slip that into the bobbin case, and then I'll find that little slit and come and go through the tension through the little clip right there, and now my bobbin is in. One way to know if your bobbin tension is good on a bobbin like this in a bobbin case is if you should be able to have it stand upright like it's doing, and then if I lift it up, if I give it a little jiggle, see how it falls down to my hand, that's what you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the machine, and if you have one of these, you probably have noticed there's a little handle on the bobbin case that you can grab onto, and then we'll just insert it right into the machine and then clip it into place and make sure it's locked, and then we'll trim some of that thread off, and now we are ready to give it a test sew. And this machine does thread differently, so make sure that you're looking at the threading path. This machine's a little bit, has a louder sound to it than what the brother had, but boy, it's so smooth. And what a beautiful stitch that does, just both on the top and the bottom. So we are good to go. So now let's talk about when on earth you know that you have an issue. So first of all, if you're sewing and you everything's fine, you're good. But if you're done and you take a look at your fabric and you see different things, it will tell you what's going on. So we're going to go overhead again real quick. So this one is a good stitch. Let's focus there. There I have purple. Did I have purple on the top and I have yellow? No, I had yellow on the top and I had purple on the bottom. So this one looks fine. It's got a nice stitch. It looks good. Now, this one did not look so great. I've got, oh, I'm too high. Sorry, people. Let me get it, see if it will focus, 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 focus. There we go. So on this one, I had on the top, I had a blue thread and a purple thread here. And then on the back side, I have a red bobbin and a yellow bobbin. So now, since this is my top, if you can kind of see the blue, you can see the red popping through on each one of those. And when I'm sitting here and the purple looks the same to my eyes because I'm closer, these look like a line of thread and the bobbin is popping up. In fact, if you look, I don't know if you can see there, can you see right by my thumbnail, there's a little yellow that's just popping up. So actually the bobbin is coming to the top. So if you see a challenge on the top of your thread, that means there's a problem with your bobbin. And on this case, with these, what caused this is the fact that when I dropped the bobbin into the bobbin area on a drop-in bobbin, I didn't go through that path like it said to. I just left it alone, and which can happen, right? So it wasn't in the tension of the bobbin case, so then that gave it too much thread in the bobbin. And if this was an actual seam, you're going to see that you're going to get really a messy looking seam with a lot of show. Okay? Now that's not as common. It happens, but what's even more common is we have a nice looking stitch like this. We'll get the camera to focus there. You have a decent looking stitch like that, but it made this really ka-chunky sound as you're sewing it. That's an excellent indicator that you have an issue. So if we take a look, now this is the top, so this is the needle thread. So in the back, which I have yellow bobbin thread, you can't even see it because this is a horrible mess. So if you have a top that looks okay, but your back side looks messy, that means it's your needle thread that is the problem. Okay, so and in this one, the bobbin, the needle thread just didn't get in the tension. Remember, we talked about having the foot up when we're doing our threading, and so it can get into that tension area. If that doesn't happen, bad things can happen. Also, if you like to sew at a fast rate of speed, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you might get a little hiccup every once in a while like this because maybe it pops out of the tension because you're going so fast and the thread goes, woohoo, yay, wee, you know, that kind of thing. So here's the bottom line. Make sure you're threaded properly. If you have any issues like this that arise, go ahead and unthread your machine and re-thread it. It's the easiest way to make sure things are working right. Then also, don't forget that bobbin. Give that some love too and make sure it's in the bobbin case correctly. and clean it. If you have a bobbin case that's, well, either type, a drop-in or an insert bobbin, if you get lint and little wacky things in there, it actually can change the height of how the bobbin sits in a drop-in, and it will change that height, which will cause the bobbin to misconnect with the needle thread. And when I say clean it, I mean take your needle plate off, take the bobbin case out, clean under the bobbin case and clean in the bobbin case. It really is important. And it's amazing how these machines, for one, it's amazing how these machines work at all, right? But it's amazing how something very small like that can cause your machine to act poorly. Okay, so bottom line, if you're sewing and you're getting issues on the top and you're seeing thread pop up on the top, it means you have an issue with your bobbin, okay? And if you see issues on the bottom, that means you have an issue with your needle thread. So it's the opposite of where you're looking. The top may look perfectly fine. It's the bottom that looks icky. It's not a problem with the bottom thread. It's a problem with your top thread. You're stitching along and the top is looking icky. It's not your needle thread. Usually it's the bobbin thread. That's the problem. Now you can get a look like this sometimes if you have misthreaded or the thread is wrapped around and caught on because you have the wrong size spool cap or something like that. So just keep those in mind. Just be a detective and kind of navigate your way through and see what's going on. But a good rule of thumb is to have some fabric that is similar to what you're sewing with on your project, have some scraps, and give it a test with the thread that you're going to use before you start sewing so you don't get a seam that looks like this and you're unhappy. So I hope that will help get some stress out of your life and you can have some relaxation instead of some unfortunate tension, and you can have your machine tensions going right. We look forward to seeing you at our next How Do I. But before we go, I want to mention to you that starting on the 8th of July, we're going to be doing a quilt along. And this is the quilt back here that we're going to be making. And starting next week, you're going to be able to see on our website the supply list for the fabrics for this quilt, and then we'll start making it on the 8th of July. So we'll look forward to seeing you, and this one is called Checkered Stars, and we look forward to having you join us for that. Have a good day. See ya.